on the Better Sports Network. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome into A Bettor Morning right here on the Better Sports Network. It's your boy, Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, holding it down solo. As I told you yesterday, the morning show was like a Big Brother type house to see who the final survivor will be. And obviously, it was the fantasy executive, Corey Parson. But listen, coming up on the program today, yesterday morning, we discussed quarterback X factors, guys that can make their teams good. Today, we're going to hold up a mirror to that, and we're going to discuss the worst quarterback situations in the NFL going into the 2023 season. Got a big college football game on Saturday night, Duke Mayo Classic, border battle between North Carolina and South Carolina. We'll get into that, break that down, give you a pick for that contest as well. Don't forget, looking for your comments in the chat, any way that you can hop in here and give me a thought about what's going on. Definitely will appreciate that. Now, I want to start off by discussing this quarterback situation because I saw it yesterday. It looks like Josh Dobbs or Clayton Tune, formerly of the University of Houston, will be the starting quarterback this year for the Arizona Cardinals. As my guy, Colt McCoy, everybody who knows me know how much of a big Colt McCoy supporter I am. My guy, Colt McCoy, was basically released yesterday by the Arizona Cardinals with Tune and Dobbs end up being the starting quarterback. So how do you get here in 2023 with the professional franchise either rolling out Clayton Tune or Josh Dobbs to be their week one starter? Because that doesn't just happen by accident. And I tell you exactly how it happened. When the Arizona Cardinals decided that they were going to let Kyler Murray hold them hostage into that contract agreement, there was no particular reason why the Arizona Cardinals should have caved into Kyler Murray and gave him that contract. Because what happened after that? Murray immediately gets hurt. He's likely going to be out for this season. And to be 100% honest with you, I feel as if Kyler Murray has played his final snap as a member of the Arizona Cardinals. Because Arizona is telling you right now that they're going into tank mode. Because anytime you roll out Clayton Tune and Josh Dobbs in week one as your starter to start an NFL season, I can tell you good things is not going to be the case. Their win total to start the year, right? Their win total going into the season is 4.5, heavily juiced to the under. People are looking at this Arizona Cardinal bunch as the worst team in the NFL. And you know what? It's a good chance they probably are. Now, the roster in general is not that great. But when you get to the quarterback position, there's really some trouble there. You see, this is what happens when you are paying Kyler Murray $46 million. Kyler Murray is one of the top 5 paid players in this league. He's not going to take a snap this season. Announced yesterday he'll start the season on PUP. I don't see him coming back at all because he's going to have to be traded to somebody else because of the fact of Arizona's tanking. They're looking at a guy like Drizzy Drake May or more than likely Caleb Williams to come in there and be their starting quarterback next season. Trust me, if the Cardinals get the first pick of the draft, they're not going to look at their quarterback room and say, we're going to leave Caleb Williams on the board. They're going to go out there and get him. Now, the Kyler Murray experience, it hasn't been terrible. Last year was really the only year when Murray was truly bad, but you don't give a guy $46 million and then put a clause in his contract about him having to get inside the playbook. Because if the young man is not inside the playbook, how about this? Let him play the contract out and don't give him $46 million. He constantly shows up to the facility wearing an Oakland A's hat because that was who drafted him. Trying to say to the Cardinals, oh, I'll go play baseball. If I'm the general manager of the Cardinals, I say go. It's not like Kyler Murray is some generational talent that's going to change the quarterback position. This guy is a poor teammate. He's a bad leader. He acts like a kid. Those are not qualities that you want from the quarterback position. So, yes, next year, I can see a situation where the Arizona Cardinals probably have a top 3 pick in the draft. We all know this is going to be a quarterback-heavy draft this year with Williams being the big ticket. Guys like Drizzy Drake May, who we'll talk about later, will be out there as well. So, yes, the Arizona Cardinals have probably played their final game with Kyler Murray a year after they gave him $46 million annual average salary. That's how general managers get fired. That's how head coaches get fired. And that's how quarterbacks end up looking for new homes. So, Atlanta Falcon fans, I can guarantee you Kyler Murray is probably somebody that's going to be on your organization's radar. He's already got that big contract. Now, he probably could play pretty well in the Arthur Smith offense. Listen, Murray's thing is he's slight of frame. He's diminutive, as the great Clyde Frazier would say. He's got some run into his game. The problem with Murray is when he gets hurt, which he's going to get hurt because of his size, he doesn't play as well hurt as he does when he's not hurt. But he's always going to be injured. So this guy right here is not really fit to be an NFL quarterback, especially at a $46 million a year clip. We've seen some MVP-type moments from Murray, but not enough people around him. I think it's a situation where the Arizona Cardinals are going to regret. They clearly already regret giving the quarterback this contract. You see, when it boiled down for me, when I would have got him out of there, I've mentioned this before, when Arizona Cardinal leader, good teammate, all-around good guy, passionate leader of the defense, Budda Baker, got hurt, everybody on the Arizona Cardinals team came out to tap him on the helmet, wish him good luck. Kyler Murray was on the sideline. That's not the kind of dude that you give $46 million to and make the face of a franchise. Arizona Cardinals, your win total going into the year is 4.5, heavily juiced to the under because you made a terrible mistake giving Kyler Murray that money. Now you're looking at Clayton Tune and Josh Dobbs as your week 1 starter. That is the worst quarterback situation in the NFL. Now, got some more bad quarterback situations in the NFL this year as well. Not as terrible as what's going on in Arizona, but we got to talk about the Tennessee Titans situation. Now, the Titans have Ryan Tannehill, who is serviceable. But then when you look on the bench, they got a second-year quarterback in Malik Cunningham and a first-year quarterback, a rookie quarterback in Will Levis. None of these guys will probably get on the field this year unless Tannehill gets injured again. So right now, the Titans are in quarterback purgatory because here's the deal. Their win total going into the year is 7.5. People really don't expect them to be that bad of a team, right? So when you look at the the Tennessee Titans, what's their issue? What's the deal with them? Well, they got Derrick Henry, who can run the football effectively. They play well on defense. They're great at situational football. And Mike Vrabel might be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. One of the best head coaches in the NFL. So, yeah, the Tennessee Titans, they also play in a weak division. So they're not going to be bottom feeders. They're not going to just come out and lose a whole bunch of games. I expect them to be a 7-8 win team. They could compete for this division. That's how good of a head coach Mike Vrabel is. When you look in their quarterback room, Ryan Tannehill is mid. He's not the kind of guy that can make plays and go on a deep playoff run. Now, Malik Willis last year, he threw 61 passes in like 6 games. He may have completed 30 of them. Completion percentage around 50. Yards per attempt under 5. We've seen Willis come out there and they be too scared to let him throw the football. So it does look like he's improved this year from what we've seen in the preseason, Malik Willis. But if you get into a situation where Tannehill gets hurt or he goes down and you got to look to the bench and you got to get either Malik Willis or Will Levis, that's not a real good look right there, Tennessee Titans. So, yes, that quarterback room is in limbo. Now, how do you get here? The reason why they're here is because they're not bad enough ever to get one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. Like, they're not going to be bad enough to get a guy like Drizzy Drake May. They're not going to be bad enough to get a guy like Caleb Williams. Well, yeah, they can go ahead and put Will Levis or Malik Willis out there and tank. Well, that's not really going to be the case because that's not the type of organization that Mike Vrabel is going to run. When Mike Vrabel is a guy where the standard is the standard, he's not going to have his team going out there and losing because that sets a bad precedent. This ain't the Philadelphia 76ers. You see how that plays out? When you teach a team to lose, when it becomes time for them to win, they don't know how to push that extra step. So you're not going to see no tanking. So it's going to be another mid-level quarterback to come in there and try to save this team. If they draft quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds 3 years in a row, I would not be surprised. But this quarterback room must improve because I'm pretty convinced that that Malik Willis or Will Levis is not actually going to be the guy to lead Tennessee Titans into the future. This is not a terrible quarterback situation, but it's one I wouldn't want to be a part of. Because if they had a decent quarterback in there, they can compete with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this division. So Tennessee, another situation where it's going to have to be some moving and shaking if you're going to improve the quarterback room out there in Nashville. Finally, I want to touch on Baker Mayfield, named the starting quarterback a couple days for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Baker played for Carolina and for the Rams last year. He was all right with the Rams. Obviously, that's the greatness of McVay. He was god-awful in Carolina. And that probably has to do with really the coaching that he was receiving down there. Matt Rule couldn't really get that quarterback room or that situation together. But now down in Tampa, you got Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield. It's not going to go well in Tampa this year. The Buccaneers come into the season with a win total of 6.5, heavily juiced to the under. This is probably a 5 or 6 win team. I'll take this under to the window right here. Now, even though he did play better with the Rams, Mayfield last year, they still let him walk. Mayfield still has this delusion that he's a starting quarterback in the NFL when Mayfield is really a backup. But every now and then, he'll bounce around. He'll get an opportunity to go prove himself yet again. And yet again, you'll see that Baker Mayfield is a below-average NFL starter. He's like starter number 31, 32, 33, 34. He's in that range of NFL quarterbacks. It's no real upside. It's nothing to be optimistic about. This is a team that might go into tank mode, get rid of their head coach, get rid of Baker Mayfield, and be starting anew next year with a new head coach and a new offensive staff and a new quarterback. Because this quarterback room right here, also not good. Kyle Trask is in this quarterback room. He probably shouldn't be in the NFL, period. Now, how did Tampa get here? How did they get to have this terrible quarterback situation in the Buccaneers? Well, because they leveraged the franchise and brought in Tom Brady. When you do that, listen, you sell your soul to win a championship. They won their championship. Now you look at the roster this season, the bill is coming due. Yeah, we still like guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin for fantasy football purposes, but you see how their ADPs is dropping? People don't really expect much from them this year. Now you can have a situation where they can be like how Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf was last year. That could happen. That could very well be the case. But more than likely, I'm thinking that this is going to be a bad situation in Tampa that's going to end up with everybody losing their job at the end of this year. A Baker Mayfield, Kyle Trask quarterback room is not a championship quarterback room. It's not an 8-8 quarterback room. It's not an almost be a wild card team in a weak NFC quarterback room. That's a 4-win quarterback room. That's a 5-win quarterback room. That's a quarterback room that's going to be a problem all season. NFC South teams are going to beat up on Tampa. Their quarterback situation is terrible. They should have been planning better for this when Tom Brady was there. They weren't able to get it done. Yesterday, I was able to come in here and give you the quarterback situations that look like X factors that could give teams a bump this year. Today, those guys I just talking about, worst quarterback situations in the NFL going into the season. Now, Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos just missed this list. It's not like that quarterback room is great either. I've said this recently, and I'll continue to hammer this. When Andy Reid traded Donovan McNabb to the Washington Redskins, he knew what he was doing. He knew McNabb was washed up. I think Pete Carroll did the same thing to that crew out there in Denver. I think they know Russell Wilson is washed up. Russell Wilson's another guy like Kyler Murray making a lot of money this year. He's going to be hard to get rid of. They've been trying to fix that quarterback room in Denver for a long time now. Sean Payton is there. It's going to have to be some changes. Russell Wilson's not going to be the quarterback of the Denver Broncos next year because Denver's not going to be a playoff team this year. Will they be improved? I believe so. But Russ ain't that guy no more. Russ's days of cooking is over. Not a 5-star chef. He's a top ramen boiler. I think I just made that one up on the fly. What you do not want to make up on the fly, though, is your fantasy football rosters. That's why we're here to help. You can start a 7-day free trial of Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription and get the Fantasy Football Draft Guide and Cheat Sheet for free. Go to fantasyalarm.com/draft. That's a free 7-day trial of Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription and get the Fantasy Football Draft Guide and Cheat Sheet for free. Go to fantasyalarm.com/draft. Got a lot of drafts going down this upcoming weekend. We are getting closer and closer to the kickoff of the NFL season. That's when these fantasy rosters start to tabulating points. And obviously the folks on Fantasy Alarm can get you set for your upcoming drafts this weekend. When you and homies go to Buffalo Wild Wings, you want to make sure that you got the correct cheat sheet and you're caught up to date for when you get the draft popping. A little bit of college football. Big game this weekend. I want to take a couple minutes to break down and give you my thoughts on the Duke's Mayo Classic. If you're not familiar with Duke's Mayo, it's like Hellman's of the South. Got North Carolina Tar Heels, South Carolina Gamecocks, Saturday night, main event, main attraction of the first weekend of college football. Now, Carolina comes into the game ranked 21st in the nation. Well, for the most part, most rankings only go 25 deep. South Carolina would have probably been team 26, 27. They would have been in that range. So you got two teams fairly similar to each other, and the point spread reflects that. This game be played a neutral location in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is kind of right between both schools. Carolina comes into the game as a 2.5-point favorite. The reason why Carolina is the favorite is because they do have the better quarterback, but the teams mirror each other. Neither team is that good in the trenches. Neither team is that good on defense. The total in this game is 64.5. Now, I would lean to the under on the total, and I'll tell you why. Now, let's talk about the quarterbacks here. Spencer Rattler versus Drizzy Drake May. We know who Drake May is. He's a guy who's probably going to be a top 3 to 5 pick in this year's upcoming NFL draft. Quarterback supreme for the University of North Carolina. Last year, May, 4,300 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, close to 70% completion percentage. This is an elite quarterback prospect. Now, the problem is that people around him ain't that elite as far as the players. Last year, the Tar Heels had a pretty decent run, but whenever they stepped up in competition, they did not play well at all. They ended the year with 4 straight losses, and you know what? May was terrible in those games. In the ACC championship game, he looked horrible throwing 2 interceptions versus Clemson to no touchdown passes. Did that in the bowl game as well. So whenever the going gets tough, Mace and the Tar Heels seem to check out. Now, on the other side, you got Spencer Rattler, who was supposed to be the first pick of the draft 2 years ago. Spencer Rattler been in college since 2019 and still got 2 years of eligibility left. He might as well just go ahead and be a career college quarterback because he's going to make more NIL money than he'll ever make in the NFL. I think those dreams are over. Now, Rattler was great down the stretch last year. 6 touchdowns in the win over Tennessee. Played great in the upset win at Clemson. Played very well in the bowl game versus Notre Dame as well. But now he gets a new offensive coordinator in Darryl Loggins. Carolina going to a more of a pro-style system. It took him 10 weeks into the season to learn the offense last year. You think he's going to be ready to learn the offense in week 1 this year? He's not a great college quarterback. He's a little bit above average. Now, he's good enough to get the job done because of what Carolina has around him. Shane Beamer and that crew has done a great job recruiting, even despite being in the SEC. Put it like this. If you were to take Carolina out of the SEC and put them in the ACC, they'd be the Gamecocks I'm talking about, they'd be a contender in the ACC. But in the SEC, with trips to Georgia and Tennessee on the schedule, that makes things tough. They always play one of the tougher conference schedules in college football. But the difference in this game right here is it's going to be high expectations for Carolina. I'm talking about the Gamecocks, not so much for the Tar Heels. The difference is these teams mirror each other on offense. They mirror each other on defense. But this game will be won on special teams. And the special team nod has to go to the team that's coached by Shane Beamer because he's a direct inheritance of Beamer ball. Carolina will make some plays in the special teams game. I would take Carolina getting the 2.5, and I would sprinkle the money line as well. That's the big game on Saturday night. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Rival Fantasy before we get up out of here. Rival Fantasy is the all-in-one fantasy sports platform. Play challenges, fantasy book, fantasy bingo, plus season-long fantasy football. New users who sign up at Rival Fantasy get a $200 deposit match and a complimentary first play voucher. Go to joinrival.com/alarm. Here's my man, Jon Impemba, Senior Managing Editor of Fantasy Alarm and host of the Quick Out Fantasy Football Show, giving you today's play for the good folks over at Rival Fantasy.
What's going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here, breaking down today's Rivals Fantasy Challenges plays of the day. Pull up today's challenges board here. What we're looking at is Tyreek Skubal of the Detroit Tigers going up against the New York Yankees, and George Kirby of the Seattle Mariners going up against the Oakland Athletics. With the challenges here, you pick which player is going to come out with the most fantasy points. And when it comes to this matchup here, this one feels like a little bit of a no-brainer. George Kirby draws an Oakland A's team that is certainly packing it in. Their stadium's ready to be on the move to Las Vegas. The fans aren't showing up. The team's calling up all their young players here. And George Kirby is one of the better pitchers in the American League West and pitching for the Seattle Mariners. On the flip side, you have Tyreek Skubal here for the Detroit Tigers, a southpaw. And when you go up against the Yankees, you definitely do not want to pick a left-handed pitcher. The Yankees are a top 5 offense in baseball against left-handed pitching this season. Well, Tyreek Skubal is a promising young pitcher. I've had some rough goes of it of late here. So for me, George Kirby is going to be my challenges selection here between these two pitchers. You can go ahead and pick a wager. Just kind of lock in a $10 bet here on George Kirby. Bringing us to our next challenge, we have Kirby again going up against the Oakland A's. Well, Sandy Alcantara is going up against the Tampa Bay Rays. Sandy Alcantara has been pitching a lot better of late. He's the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner, but not where I'm looking to go here today. We'll go ahead and skip this challenge, see what they bring us. Merrill Kelly against the Dodgers, Michael King against the Tigers. We'll skip that one. Corbin Carroll against the Los Angeles Dodgers, or Shohei Ohtani against the Philadelphia Phillies. Hard not to go Ohtani in this one. We'll again pick Ohtani over Carroll. We'll lock it in. That is your Rivals Fantasy Challenges plays of the day, everybody. Good luck. Let's go make some money.
No doubt. Shout out to my man, Jon Impemba, with a great job right there. Don't forget Rival Fantasy. Like you heard what Jon said, let's go make some money. To recap right quick for today, the Arizona Cardinals, that quarterback situation is terrible. Take the under 4.5. They're going to be in competition for the first pick in the draft. Who else we got? Oh, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, under 6.5. Another team with a bad quarterback room. College football this weekend. Take the 2.5 with the Gamecocks. I like South Carolina to have a big special teams play late in that game to go ahead and cover that number and get the victory. And also, I would go under 8.5 wins for the University of North Carolina this year. For my dearest Heather Klein, it's Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, wishing you a better morning.